Yeah, I would say Justin is such a creative force that
Yeah.
like you got to keep up with him,
Yeah.
like there's a lot like it just blows my mind how much how much art he produces. Like it just
Yeah.
comes out of him every day. And that like I've never met anybody like that. I really haven't. I've been in a band with the guy for 20 some years and I still have not I haven't experienced that with anybody else that I've worked with.
Did you notice that right away?
I did. Yeah.
Meeting him or working with him right away that like this
Yeah,
guy's
I love that question. And yeah, I did. Yeah, I picked that. I mean, like he not only like did I get to go see a show, which was awesome because you get that intangible like it factor, right? And I was like, whoa, this is a front man.
yeah,
Like it's
sure. Yeah.
just like any band I've ever been in. This is a guy that's like the whole audience is just hanging on to every word, and that is rare. But beyond that, just the output of work that he does is mind blowing. So
Yeah.
I picked that up right away, though. I was like, wait, how many songs do you have? And at the time in 98, 99, I mean, he had hundreds of songs already.
Welcome, fellow lushes. Come on in, pull up a bar stool, and enjoy some cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
Anyway, let's talk about the hand slap we got from the Facebook people. They don't like Miss Mothership.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but like she was pulling her shirt up and all you could see was the bottom of her tits. I post
that all day.
I post that picture every week for our podcast of somebody. I mean, you know what I mean?
Because it's not it's not out of the ordinary.
I mean, when we had Elana Carter Price, Elon. Oh, I had one of Maddie's half of Maddie's caramels before tonight. So, like her, the picture
mine that's coming up.
The picture I used for her, she was wearing mesh, and you could, if you looked close enough, you could see some nipple.
Oh,
and Facebook let that one go.
It was covered. The whole boob was covered.
Is that the problem? You can't show a bottom tit? What do they call that?
Underboob.
Underboob. There we go.
Yeah, but there's 100 freaking people on the red carpet with showing underboob.
Yeah,
well, it's part of the dresses now, and that's style. Underboob.
I know. Thank
you. Wow. I mean, just when you think it's,
I was kind of happy.
It's opposite. I keep pulling this, but I'm like, pull this.
Oh God, shut up. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little flattered.
Well, we should be.
We finally got big enough that they're like, oh my God, these guys are. Pretty soon they'll be like, bing, 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 bing. Oh, we got dinged again today by YouTube today.
That's your goal. Getting dinged. Let's get dinged.
Miss Red is on Fansly, and
yep.
I linked that into the show description on YouTube, and I got the message this morning that we got our first warning, and it's just a warning now because it promotes pornography. We can't even put that link on there. They blew the link out. You can put OnlyFans, but you can't put Fansly.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, so am I.
The whole shebang. I'm confused about.
Yeah, so am I. I know it's crazy.
Because Fansly, I know. Well, obviously, it was her. That's what say it. Are you going to block us from talking about Fansly?
Well, that's where she sticks wrenches in her vagina. Did you go look?
I didn't get on Fansly.
No, I probably should
yet.
So
I know for research.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't know why I'd be excited to watch her stick wrenches in her pussy. I don't even know what wrenches do. I thought that's what they were for.
After the show, I'll show you a wrench.
You don't know what a wrench does?
My wrench. I'll show you my wrench.
You want shoved up your ass right now? Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, the good news,
it's still happening.
The good news is, yeah. While you're listening to this diatribe, go down there and hit subscribe. Watch us get in more trouble.
Don't cost nothing.
It costs your life.
Cost you nothing means the world to us.
It sure does. I had friends meet Ryan Sickler. Posted some pictures of them with Ryan Sickler. I was like, I'm so jealous.
Someday.
Yeah, someday Ryan Sickler will be begging to be on here.
Heck yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was fooled by the picture for a second.
By the picture?
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
impressed.
it's like when you call somebody and their voicemail answers, and you're like, "Is that really you?" Like, why is he standing
Oh.
so still?
I'm like, you're ready to
Guys
play
hear me
something.
You guys hear me
a
okay?
little more volume, maybe.
Okay, let me see if I can. Check.
Yeah, that's better.
Cool.
Cool.
Check. Yeah, if you guys need more, just let me know.
Yeah, we figured you know how to work all this stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Definitely not an engineer by any means.
Way better than we will ever be.
Right? Yeah, I know. We seem to have struggles every week with this thing. Like, how do we get? Okay, well, so,
Well, you got a cool setting though. It looks good in there. That's what matters.
thank you. Yeah, we're like 60 some episodes in now, so it's a work in progress. We slowly building as we go.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. That's quite a few episodes.
Yeah, we're pumping them out one a week, and
That was our goal.
yeah, and this week we're doing 4 interviews this week, so yeah, we're staying busy with it. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. That's fantastic.
yeah, it's
Very
fun.
cool.
So
Well, you know how it is when you start out. You got to just kind of hit the grind and just got to go.
Yeah, for sure, man. I feel like content is king, right? It's like
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a podcast junkie actually. Like
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. And that's what it used to, I mean, not that I don't listen to music anymore, but when I'm driving, like I have a lot of driving like backcountry roads to go down to Justin's studio when we're working. And I love listening to podcasts, but there are only so many, Detroit Lions podcasts out there.
Well, let's get you introduced before we get too deep into this.
No introduction.
I got to tell you, 62 episodes in, and I'm fanboying out more tonight than I have for any of these episodes.
Oh man, that means the world. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Obviously a huge Blue October fan.
Absolutely.
I've been in the meet and greet lines several times. I met you several times, and you were always very nice to everybody going through the line.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We even talked politics a little bit, which I don't know if you normally do at rock shows, but we did.
That's one of those things that you can do in person, but you got to be real careful on what you say, public.
But anyway, we have Matt Noveskey, the bass player from, I'm going to say Blue October, even though the list is like, we'll get to the rest of the list as we go.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, man. Yep. Blue October works.
So thank you so much for coming on. I can't even begin to express how excited I was when you said yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's actually, I was just saying earlier, I was setting up and I was like, man, I haven't done one of these in a while. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to just have a conversation.
Oh, good. We are too.
So
you got a lot going on, so a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Staying busy
Wow.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when don't you stay busy? That's, I guess, more of the.
Oh man. I'm really trying to be better about that. Honestly, I'm really trying to like find some balance. I think it's planning vacations properly because I'm one of those wing it people. I'm like, yeah, we'll just go somewhere and find stuff to do. That doesn't work so well, So I'm trying to be better about like meticulously planning, but also planning time to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's important.
You got to do that. You got to take some breaks for sure.
And it is funny when you try and do that and fly by the seat of your pants and be spontaneous. I know for this podcast now we're like booked out into June with guests. So it's like if you don't kind of plan something out there, you end up planning yourself work.
Oh yeah.
So,
yep. You can plan yourself to death, man.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do for downtime these days?
Oof, man. I joke around about this, but it's actually true. Which is really kind of sad, but I don't have a lot of hobbies because music was always sort of everything, and I think a lot of times people, when you're like, it becomes your career, when something becomes your career in the arts, I think you'll sort of take on a new hobby or, it's like, okay, I'm a full-time musician, so I'm going to paint a lot now because that's what I'll do to decompress. But I don't like to decompress from music or from the whole, yeah, it's good to come off the road. Sometimes it's good to be with your family and everything, but it's just one of those things where I never viewed it as a job. It's never been like a slog or a grind to me. It's always been just what I wanted to do, like dreaming about being on a tour bus when I was 13, 14 years old. Like that's all I cared about. I really didn't have any backup plan whatsoever. I didn't have any other like crazy, well, if plan A doesn't work out, then here's plan B and C and blah, 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 blah. So plan A was just always it. But I, besides hanging out with my kids and like doing stuff outside with my kids and playing with my kids and taking them on vacations and stuff like that, I'm like, I love a good story. I love good movies. I'm a film buff. I grew up watching movies. My brother and I quote movies all the time, 80s comedies and stuff like that. But, I don't really have a hardcore hobby outside of music because it's really all I ever want to do.
Yeah.
Like play bass and write songs and work with bands. And it's just too fun.
I think you hear a lot of,
yeah, it's gotta be too much fun.
yeah, I think you hear a lot of people involved in the arts who kind of have that answer, that their hobby ends up stemming, like it may not be the exact thing you do, but it's something closely related to music for you.
For sure. Yeah. But well, I've always been a visual artist as well. I haven't been really, it's not something I really promote a lot or like talk about a lot, but I drew and painted when I was a kid, all the way up until about the first few years of being in the band, and then being in the band really became a full-time thing, and it kind of took a back seat, but I've actually I'm getting back into painting again. So
awesome.
I do have that, I guess. And that's nice and that's fun, but it's like learning to do it all over again, like, whoa, this seemed a lot easier when I did it 20 years ago.
Well, it makes it fresh.
Yeah, right.
I guess I was going to ask if, you were just talking before about music is your hobby or your downtime, but do you find yourself going into a different instrument learning or a different genre of music, maybe? During that downtime?
I think different genres of music is extremely important. I think, if you're a touring musician or you're a recording musician or a producer, especially, you can't, you can stick with one thing and one genre for sure. And that can sort of be like your like go-to and sort of your identity, but that's never really been my thing. I like so many different styles of music and I grew up on so many different styles of music from all my siblings and my parents that I never really just wanted to do one thing. So, to me, like, I think it's really important to be well-rounded and to listen to a lot of different things and be familiar so that you're not caught off guard when you're working with an artist or with a band. But also on top of that, I think that you should at least experiment a little bit with other instruments as well. I'm in a band with a guy named Ryan De La Hussey, and he pisses me off because he plays every instrument so well that it makes, like, I watch him and I'm like, yep, that'll never happen, but I can dabble enough to write songs and to kind of facilitate that. So that's what matters. Be able to play some chords.
I did see you've been doing some research that you had an uncle who played the bass, who toured with it. All I saw was toured with a rock band. And I was curious who it was.
So I actually have two uncles that both played bass, and they were both named Jim.
Okay.
From different sides of the family. Okay. And they were both like the coolest, but like my two, I love all my uncles, don't get me wrong, but they were like the quintessential bass players, right? They were like super cool, super laid back, hilarious, really funny, just like really, really nice, like funny, kind dudes that I grew up being like, I want to be like Uncle Jim, Uncle Jim's. You take your pick.
Who's the favorite?
Yeah. And they've both passed away now, but they were both just absolutely fantastic musicians. And they really kind of inspired me to not only pick up the instrument, but to sort of like pick up that sort of personality as well, I guess. Like, be laid back, try not to be an a-hole, try to be easy to get along with. And I really admired them for that, for sure.
Yeah, why is it that bass players are always the coolest guys? It's just inherent. It just seems like the bass players are always the coolest guy in the band.
Well, first of all, I love hearing that. And second of all, it's true. I think that like being a bass player in a band is a very specific thing, right? It's a very specific role. And your role in the band usually is to sort of be the glue, is to really It's not to be, hey, look at me, look at how flashy I am, unless you're like Geddy Lee or Les Claypool or whatever, then there aren't a lot of lead bass players. Now I grew up playing Geddy and Les bass lines, that's who I started on. Like I worshiped those guys, and still do. But like I learned and fell in love with the bass player role in the band though, which is to be the glue and to be chill and sort of be kind of the ground, like be grounded and keep those around you grounded as well. And then you also like, I always, or I've noticed that a lot of producers are also bass players, or bass players become really successful producers. And I think that that's because when you're a bass player and you're listening to the kick drum and the snare and the hi-hat and the guitar and the vocals, the melody, the piano, everything, and you're tying it all together, your job is to make sure that this guy here who's dragging and this guy who's rushing sort of meet in the middle, and everything sort of becomes this cohesive thing. So your role is already to sort of pay attention to what everybody else is doing, and I mean, and the guitar player, forget about it. That guy, he's up at the front of the stage. He doesn't care what everybody else is playing. He's just shredding, So that's just kind of the personality, I guess. That's what I've noticed, at least.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, in Blue October, it feels to me like you and Jeremy are kind of a little more out in front than a lot of bands. The guitar, I mean, obviously now with Will in the band and being so fantastic, a little bit more of it, but I feel like there is a lot of you and Jeremy, and
Yeah, Jeremy and I we have a great dynamic, as bass player, like your best friend is the drummer for sure. So when you're on stage, like it's really important that you guys have a good connection and that you guys have a good chemistry. And Jeremy and I are like brothers, like we've grown up together at this point, but we became really close really fast when I first moved down. Like he and I became really tight, and that's really cool. And I feel like we have a really cool bond because of that, and we get along so well. That translates into the show. I think it really does. Like we can kind of read each other and feel each other's next move coming, and we have really similar tastes in music. So that's kind of a nice thing to bond over as well. But with the band, I mean, we've gone through, I mean, we're on our like 1,000, like what is it, 1,000 albums now or something. So it's not like we don't have a formula. And when you don't really have a formula for songwriting and for putting your songs together, you're bound to have a lot of different like process every time you make an album, right? So a lot of the songs that we do are like bass and drums are definitely just kind of holding it down, but then a lot of the songs are more up front, like you said, like the drums and bass will carry the song, like a song like Razorblade or something like that, where like, the bass and drums are sort of the first thing that came into play when we were writing the song, and it just stuck that way, so yeah.
So Blue October is a pretty collaborative when it comes to songwriting. You guys kind of all work the songs together.
Yeah, I would say Justin is such a creative force that like you got to keep up with him, like there's a lot, like it just blows my mind how much art he produces. Like it just comes out of him every day. And that, like, I've never met anybody like that. I really haven't. I've been in a band with the guy for 20 some years, and I still have not, I haven't experienced that with anybody else that I've worked with.
Did you notice that right away?
I did. Yeah.
Meeting him or working with him right away, that like,
I love that question. And yeah, I did. Yeah. I picked that. I mean, like not only like, did I get to go see a show, which was awesome because you get that intangible, like it factor. Right. And I was like, whoa, this is a front man. Yeah, like it's just like any band I've ever been in. This is a guy that's like the whole audience is just hanging on to every word, and that is rare. But beyond that, just the output of work that he does is mind blowing. So I picked that up right away, though. I was like, wait, how many songs do you have? And at the time in 98, 99, I mean, he had hundreds of songs already, hundreds. And it was just like, wow, there's such a wealth of material here. This is so exciting. And that's something that you could do forever, for sure. So it was a no-brainer to join the band, for sure, just for those two things alone. But the fact that we all get along so well is just icing on the cake, for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on how the whole you in the band got together, or your incorporation into the band. And then then I want to go back to the songwriting that you just talked about.
Well, my path to the band is way different. They, Justin and Jeremy are brothers. And then Justin and Ryan went to HSPVA together, which is Houston School for the Performing and Visual Arts.
Okay.
And they found each other in high school and began playing music together and being creative together, and essentially started the band together. Jeremy stepped into his role. And then a couple years later is when I met the band, but I actually moved down from Michigan. So I met him through a booking agent friend who had started working with them. And it was like just this crazy, I mean, you think about life, right? And just a decision, like how the domino effect of that, right? And just how crazy that can be. And you go back and you retrace your steps and you're like, whoa, if I hadn't gone to Blockbuster that night, I never would have ran into so-and-so, and I never would have got that job or whatever it is. And my path is so crazy to me, because if I hadn't just followed up with this guy on a whim, because I was trying to get my own band gigs, but if I hadn't just followed up with this guy when my band fell apart and just said, hey, like, what's up? You want to hang out? Like,
Yeah.
what's that going on? I never would have known about this band. And he told me about him, and he gave me a CD. And the next thing you know, I fly down and check him out live. And then that's when it really hit me, and I was like, I'm going to do the most unconventional thing possible and just piss my parents off and pack up my car and move to Texas, and I just literally left everything behind.
Wow.
How old were you when you did that?
23,
Okay.
23, I think, early 20s.
And you already had your, you could have been a grade school teacher. Is that what you went to college for?
Yeah, I went to college for a couple things, and I never finished. But I went to 3 different schools over a period of time. And initially I actually wanted to write screenplays. So I was an English major and I wanted to go to film school. And then that changed over time. And I love kids. I love working with kids. And so elementary ed was that was kind of my backup plan. So I lied earlier. I did have a little bit of a backup plan. It wasn't something that I took super seriously, because I knew that music had to happen, but yeah, elementary ed, and I did my student teaching, and it was awesome.
You get flown down and you get to see a live show. And if anybody's ever seen a Blue October live show, I mean, obviously the choice is obvious at that point.
You guys are great live. So
thank you so much, man. Thank you. I'm so spoiled being in the band. I really am. Like I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I can't even say that enough. But you do, when you do it all the time, it sort of becomes second nature, and
Sure.
it's not like you're numb to it or anything. I mean, you still remember when you see bands for the first time, right? And you carry that feeling with you. I remember seeing Rage Against the Machine at Lollapalooza in '93 at 11 in the morning. And nobody knew who they were, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? This is incredible. And I went and bought the tape the next day.
Yeah.
The first time I saw the band, it was that same thing where it was like, whoa, something special is happening here. And I'm just like captivated by this. But 20 some years into it, I went to Justin's open book acoustic show Thursday night last week. And I was just like sitting on the other side of it, hearing the stories and watching him, and I know all the stories already,
right?
But hearing him talk about it and the way he expresses himself, and then the way he performs, and the way he goes into the songs, I'm like, holy crap, man! Like I'm just on stage being a part of this thing every night, and rarely do I get to step away and just watch it from a spectator's point of view. And I kind of forgot how effing awesome this is, and just how amazing this guy is. It's so.
Was that your first time seeing the open book tour?
I've caught a couple of them, actually. I went.
Okay.
I've seen him at the Paramount twice here in Austin, and the last show was incredible. But man, this one. I mean, the last one was really, really special and moving, but this one is like, he could have not even played any songs and it would have been fantastic. Just, right. I mean, it was like a comedy show and a concert and a very emotional, it was like a roller coaster, man. It was like everything all wrapped in one, but
that's what I was going to say. I've been to a number of them, and I've laughed and cried both at these things. And he's a brilliant showman. Right.
Yeah.
I think the greatest thing about him is just how vulnerable he is and how he lets us into his world. and obviously so many people can relate to his world. And when you hear, I remember going to my first Blue October show was in your hometown in Traverse City. And I can remember my now ex-wife, but was pregnant at the time. Mm-hmm. And she was up by the stage and I was standing in the back. And when you guys played Worry List, I was literally in tears, full blown tears and I didn't even really know you guys all that well yet. She got me into you guys. And I was just like, oh my God, why is this happening? And then you're like, because he lets you in.
Yeah. This is like, I think when things like that happen, your first, or maybe I'm just speaking for me, but like your first reaction is like, should I be embarrassed right now? I'm not supposed to do this in front of people, right?
Right. Oh, sure.
And then once you kind of get over that, it's cathartic,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm human first. I have emotions. I'm a person, and I'm allowed to let this out. I'm allowed to just feel what I'm feeling right now. Because every single one of us, and you're totally full of it if you tell me that you don't do this, every one of us sings at the top of our lungs in our car when we're by ourselves, right? We're singing along, making up harmonies to our favorite songs. And sometimes we get angry, and sometimes we cry, and sometimes we laugh, and whatever that is. You can do it when you're by yourself. And then it's a totally different thing when you're with 1,000 other people.
Right.
It's a completely different environment. But that's one of the things I love about our show is that we really just kind of strip that down, so when you're there, it becomes something that it's like everybody realizes right away, like, hey, it's okay to just let go here.
And I think you feel comfortable at your shows to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you allow us to do that. So
yeah, well, that's good to hear. It is.
So how long has it been since you guys have played a live show as a full band?
We played Disney. We did Disney.
Oh, okay.
And that was just a one-off thing, but we usually that's like at the beginning or the end of a tour or something. But this year we did it at the beginning of their when they start this whole like summer series or spring into summer. And so we flew out for that. We played 2 shows, and then we got to just have most of us stayed and had a day off, and then came back. But that was before that we did just a few shows in the UK. In March, and that's been it since fall of last year. So not a lot this year, but then the second half of this year is crazy though.
I was gonna say, you guys got the big tour coming up with the Goo Goo Dolls.
We got that, and then we come home for like a couple weeks, and then we head right back out again for our own headlining and stuff. So it's gonna be
our last show that was canceled that we were gonna go to.
Yeah.
So we gotta get back there.
I don't want any more cancellations, man. The last couple years, wow.
Right.
Well, you did a lot when you were shut down.
We did, yeah. We did as a band, and then we all did individually. Yeah, we did a bunch of live streams. We wrote a bunch. I mean, we're making a double album right now, So, and we released an album at the beginning of the pandemic, and then we wrote another album, and that turned into 2 more. So again, yeah, I never answered this earlier. Collaborative. Yes, we are collaborative, but Justin definitely leads the way,
Sure.
So on that note, yes, during COVID, like the guy just didn't stop. I mean, he just wrote. And so it kept us super busy. And then live streaming, like learning how to do that and how to perform that way was kind of a whole new experience. It was fun. It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But like I saw a lot of artists and a lot of bands during COVID that just didn't do anything and just sat around. And I was like, man, you guys, you're going to be left in the dust. You got to stay busy. You got to do something. Get out there.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a time, because people couldn't be out seeing stuff. It was a time, like you said, content is king. It was a time to be putting it out there all over social media,
yeah,
keeping yourself in everybody's head.
Everyone I know was learning how to do it, was learning how to get comfortable doing something like this, getting, Zoom or on a computer and connecting with people, in a different way. It's just, you just adapt, it's all it is. But that whole, for us, our bread and butter is the live show. It is. And it's connecting with people in person. And so being able to do that again is like, man, we just don't take it for granted at all.
Yeah, I can't wait. Are there dates released for the headlining tour? Or is that still coming up?
That's just I'm just giving you a little bit of inside info right there. Yeah. Well, you'll know soon.
Cool. Awesome.
That's what we're gonna.
Yeah, I will be finding one to come to. It's been too long.
It is.
Right on. You have to come back to. I mean, I don't see Traverse City on the schedule. I can tell you that. But if you go back up, you'll have to come to that for sure.
Well, yeah, Traverse City was like an 8-hour drive we're in Wisconsin. So,
Yeah.
you know, for Traverse City, you got to go up through over the bridge.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was a hike.
Yeah, that's an interesting drive too, man. I've done that a few times.
I mean,
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, real quick to touch back on, you were talking about Justin has all these hundreds of songs. Well, now you've got a song. How is that? Do you bring your song to him and he incorporates his stuff, or how is your input in with his stuff?
That's a great question. Yeah. So we're all songwriters. Jeremy's a songwriter as well, which is awesome. And he writes on bass a lot, which is really cool. Actually, I love that. He writes some cool bass stuff too. Like he wrote Driver, and
cool.
and I didn't change the bass part at all. You know, do your thing. I was like, no, I'm going to do your thing. I love what you did. This is cool. We just beefed it up and added some fuzz. And, but yeah, all of us are songwriters in our own right. And I think that the most important thing is that when you have somebody who really has a vision, you know, for like what the whole album should kind of sound like or look like, or both, you bring songs to the table and you have to really trust that the timing is right for it, you know, because you never know. You Make Me Smile is actually a song that I wrote a long time ago. And it wasn't ready then, you know? And then when Foiled was being made, it was like, hey, I feel like, you know, Justin was like, I feel like that song is really going to fit this album. It wound up being the opener on the album. And he was like, we should bust that back out and finish it. So then he brought his lyrics and his melody and we collaborated and finished the song. And, you know, so there's a lot of like, well, here's ideas, here's a riff, here's a melody, you know, here's a piano part, whatever that is. Or it can be a fully fleshed out demo, you know, but we all kind of just throw material in as kind of suggestions every time we're getting ready to make a new record, or while we're on the road, we write together a lot. And a lot of times it happens in sound check or whatever. But we all know that he has such a good vision that it's like, we don't ever question the choices when it comes to the songs that make that record, because we know that there's a purpose for it and there's a reason for it. But as far as like, you know, how much input we have, I feel like he's really good about like, if you bring a song to the table, like The Weatherman's a good example of this. If you bring a song to the table and you finish it together, he wants to make sure that not only is his vision, if, you know, and from a production standpoint, like, is it not like that he's following through on that, but that you're happy with it as well. Yeah. And he's really good about like, hey, I know how much this song means to you, because The Weatherman was definitely a song that, you know, meant a lot to me personally, still does. He's very much like, are you okay with this? Are you okay with this decision? Do you like what's happening with this? How do you feel about the beat? How do you feel about, you know, all these like things that are happening in this frequency? He's really, really good about that. And he keeps you really involved if it's your song, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. That's interesting.
Be honest, for sure. It keeps everybody in a really good place, for sure.
Yeah.
I would imagine at the same time there were, over the years, nope, I don't like the way you went with my song. I want to go back to my old way.
Oh man, we fight like crazy, you know. And it's not like everything is always, you know, just peachy and
right.
You know, yeah, it's 5 brothers in a band together. Like you fight and you argue about dumb stuff. But I think that that's gotten better over the years. You know, instead of us getting old and bitter, we've like gotten wiser and more comfortable and more trusting. And so in the past, it may be like, well, I don't like that you put a rap section in this, or I don't like that you went double time with the beat or whatever that is. But now I think there's a lot more like, okay, I may not understand that decision right at this moment, but I believe that it's all going to make sense when it's all said and done. It always does. You know, so
trust factor of each other. That's
tons of trust, man.
Yeah,
like, endless.
I mean, the songs that come out from Blue October, obviously, in 20 years have gone from being very kind of dark and gloomy to now happy and poppy. So it's definitely a complete transition. What I think is funny is you'll see, I've seen fans of Blue October that get upset that Justin's now happy and writing happy songs instead of the.
I've heard that so much, man. I really liked it when you were depressed.
Yeah.
I like you so much better when you were angry and pissed. It's like, I get it. I think
a meaningful song.
Yeah. People at different points in their life, they're going through different things. And so they're going to gravitate to different messages. It's just the way it is. And some people may be going through something right now that makes them, a song like Hate Me, like it may be a situation where they hear that and they really, really connect with it right now, today, in this moment. And so I think for some people it's hard in that sense because they may hear something that's really happy and positive and they're not used to it. And I can tell you, it's really hard to write a happy song and it not sound cheesy. It really is. It's hard to do that. Be in a rock band, especially, it's really difficult. So once you get that down, you gotta enjoy it for sure. But the other thing too is, and it's not even necessarily just about a mood. It's more about change, and it's more about accepting that there's a wider audience now. I can think of bands, that I was I felt this special relationship or whatever with certain bands because nobody knew who they were. And it's like, oh man, yeah, this is I'm cool because I know about this band and I can introduce them to people. And then, 5 years later, they would blow up or whatever. And I'd be like, this isn't fun anymore.
Right?
There's so many
people.
So, I get it. I can relate to that whole, I'm in on the secret club and now the secret club is a huge club and it's not fun. But, that's just life. That's just the way things are going to go. You got to accept. Yeah.
And the nice thing, from going to so many of your shows, even with the change in direction of some of the songs, the fans remain loyal. You guys have a great, I want to say cult following,
It's crazy. It's seeing people, at show after show after show in the morning, waiting outside, and a lot of the same people, several cities, several shows in a row, flying all over, flying to Europe, whatever that is. It's mind blowing, man. It really is. And it's again, we really honestly, you hear people say all the time, we don't take you guys for granted, blah, 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 blah. I've been backstage with some of those bands. They take for granted. We don't. We really don't, man. We know that we wouldn't be paying for diapers and able to do what we do if it weren't for that.
And I've met, I have a handful of friends that I met through Blue October shows that I stay in contact with to this day. So it's a great club.
I love that. I love seeing the friendships that are made at the shows too, and the there's a different crew in different areas of the country too, which is really cool because a lot of people all become friends and then we'll go to do meet and greets and it's the groups grow and grow, okay, now we're going to do a photo with all of us. And sometimes there's 30, 40 people in a group. That is so badass. I love that,
Well, I think it goes back to, seriously, a live show by you guys is amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. And what we said before, the intimacy you feel and the freedom that you feel, and able to just let go. You say that all the time, rock shows, you let go, but you guys are different, let go, I think. You got me into them. And I brought two of my daughters to, remember we just,
yeah.
I said, you guys don't listen to them, just let's go see them live. And that was the way I wanted to introduce you to them. It was live.
I love that. That's really cool. I've actually, a lot of people over the years too, that don't necessarily get it when they hear us a CD or on the radio or whatever that is, have seen us live and they're like, dude, you totally changed my mind.
Yeah.
Completely brought me around. I had no idea. My old roommate, the guy was just a musical snob. He was cool as hell and great dude, but he was such a snob about, if it's not punk rock, it's not cool. I don't listen to it, blah, 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 blah. I finally got him to come to a Stubbs show after booking him for years. And he came to the show and he was like, dude, you guys were badass. I have been telling you this for over 10 years, man. I'm just glad you finally came. Yeah.
And that is, I mean, I don't want that to take away from your record. I'll pop that in and listen to those all day long. I mean,
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I certainly go through times where it's nothing but Blue October for days.
Yeah, I go through spurts. Absolutely.
I do that too. I wear things out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So back in Traverse City, we're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the gyms,
yeah,
bands, bassists. Who are your biggest influences? Who did you say I want to be like that dude?
Well, I mentioned him earlier, but Geddy Lee is definitely a massive inspiration to me. I think growing up in northern Michigan, close to Canada, Rush in the 90s, like the late 80s, early 90s, was a pretty special era of the band. And like some of the first concerts I ever got to go to with my big brother were Rush concerts, and seeing the energy and hearing him play. And Chris Squire is another bass player from Yes, but like more progressive playing. When you take that, and then I would actually go back and listen to like the old Motown records that my dad would listen to, or that I grew up on, and hearing like James Jamerson, Larry Graham, all these other, badass old school bass players, and realizing it's the same instrument. Like that's a cool moment right there. Like, whoa, this like really hyper kind of kinetic thing that Geddy Lee's playing, that's the same instrument that this dude over here is playing, that's super mellow and funky and warm and makes me have this cool feeling. I want to do that. That's exciting, but the first songs that I learned how to play were definitely the busier songs for sure. Jane's Addiction, Rush, Fishbone, Red Hot Chili Peppers, huge Flea fan. All those bands, that I still feel like is the best era of music for sure. The early mid 90s, man, you can't beat that. Come on. But Nirvana, like all these rock bands, like that just blew my mind back then. I really gravitated toward them. But in my town, or the town that I grew up in at the time, if you wanted to go see a concert, you drove 4 hours.
Sure.
It wasn't, I live in Austin. It's like, oh, there's a concert in town. You want to go tonight? No. You planned 6 months ahead to go see Rush, or to go see Rage Against the Machine, or to go see Funkadelic, or whatever it is. Like you had to plan ahead. And so going to a concert was a ritual. It was a much different thing. And then you would like drive to Detroit or Chicago or wherever that was, and go see the show. And then you'd stay at your friend's cousin's house or whatever it was. And you'd come home, and it was this whole like weekend experience. It was a totally different thing. But but in my town, there weren't a lot of options as far as I didn't have exposure to a lot of great musicians, but the few that I did, I feel really fortunate to. I'm still really good friends with some of these guys, but I grew up with Kenny Olson, who's one of the most fantastic guitar players ever. He played with Kid Rock back in the day. Kenny's a staple in Nashville now. He's doing a thing with Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction and some other guys, but Kenny's a fantastic guitar player. And he was kind of a mentor to me when I was younger. Jay Cott, another bass player who is one of the best bassists in the world. He's just phenomenal. He and I were we were really close, but he was also like my bass nemesis, because when we had Battle of the Bands, it was like, oh, it's my band, his band. We're competing, But Jay is still one of my close friends to this day. And like when he was on tour with Brent Cobb, and they were out for a couple of years with Chris Stapleton. So we got to go, Jeremy and I actually went and saw that show and hung out with Jay, and, but still really, really tight with these guys, and like growing up with these guys and learning from people like Jay, and Kenny. I feel really blessed. I feel really fortunate to have like a tight kind of small town mentality, like bond with those guys for sure.
That's cool.
Wow.
So
beat that.
During the pandemic, you also stayed busy. You and Al, who Blue October fans know from tour management, I believe. Wasn't he tour manager?
It was, yeah, for a long time. He actually was our merch guy first.
He started?
Yeah, he started in merch. Just an excuse to come hang out and party back in the day,
Yeah.
But that turned into him becoming our tour manager. He was an amazing tour manager. He was,
Yeah, and he was very popular. I mean,
very popular. Oh yeah.
Blue October fans loved him as much as they loved anybody else in the band.
Yeah, still do, man.
Dude.
He's got a great personality, just a great dude. He's one of my best friends in the world. And but yeah, we started Icarus Bell, and
Or did your second band together?
yeah, man, we had a band years ago called A Plus Machines, and a little more progressive, a little bit more like, we're talking Rush and Yes and bands like that, a little more in that vein. But this thing that we're doing now is a little bit kind of, it sort of is a bit more like those 90s rock bands, like Soundgarden and STP and like groove rock.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to do something, the two of us, where we could sort of get a bunch of our friends to cameo and make a record. And that it's turned into something really cool. And I'm actually coming back tomorrow, funny enough, to come work on some songs. And it's been a couple months, I would say 3 or 4 months, since we've really, really dove in on these songs. So I'm really excited to get back to work and get this album finished, because we're actually done with it.
It's cool when it's a bass player and a drummer that are the main guys in the band, because listening to it, it's just so super chunky and super it's great.
Thank you.
So,
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we love like Royal Blood and Death from Above 1979 and bands like that, where it's bass and drums really loud
Right.
and everything else low.
That's perfect. Yeah, I even see you have Lucas Rossi, who I know from when he won the Supernova show.
Yeah, man.
Coming in and guesting on a song, huh?
Oh man, he came and actually stayed for a whole weekend, and we wrote and performed, and it just like not even a week ago, he actually texted me out of the blue, and we're gonna work on some new stuff together pretty soon. Actually, I love that guy. He's so talented and just total sweetheart. Wonderful person.
Hell of a voice. Yeah. I mean, he was.
Oh man. Yeah. He's the real deal. He's a real singer for sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't go farther than just the one album. I mean, when that show was on, kind of the anti-American Idol and I mean, I really thought they would go and last a while.
It's I think the funny thing about things like that, though, is like supergroups. I think like supergroups really only work when they're put together to be a behind the scenes, like a release. You know what I mean? Like supergroups are great when it's like, oh yeah, we do this thing. Like I actually was listening to an interview with Chris Chaney from Jane's Addiction, and he had a supergroup project that he was doing with Dave Navarro and with Taylor Hawkins. And hearing him talk about it, I was like, I totally get where he's coming from. I get it. Like, it's so fun to do something just to do something for fun, just to be a kid again. And
limited, kind of limited.
Yeah, man. It's like, and there's, and do stuff with no boundaries, you know what I mean? And like not have to really cater to anybody's expectations or anything. I think that's fun. But when you do it and there's a TV show involved and there's all these, like, all of a sudden there's like a PR person and there's, we're going to go promote this record and blah, 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 blah. Like I see why it wouldn't work personally. And this is definitely nothing that Lucas has nothing but great things to say about all those guys. Him and Tommy are super,
still tight, yeah.
Really, really good friends.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was anything like personality wise. I think it's just like, if you're going to do that and you're going to have that band and it's not going to be the main gig for everybody involved, it's got to be really, there has to be a laid back mentality about it.
Yeah. Sure. So back to Icarus Bell. I've noticed you guys are on Patreon.
Yes.
And I noticed it looked like there hadn't been any updates in a while, but I see I can be an executive producer on you. So I got to know more about this.
An executive producer. Yeah. I mean, that's really like, so we're going to make physical copies of the album. We're going to do vinyl. Awesome. And this is actually kind of cool because we haven't really talked about this yet. So we're going to do vinyl. We're going to do a limited run, so once it's done, it's done. That's it.
Yeah, nice.
And so being an executive producer on it is a way to kind of be involved and put your name on something that's going to be, there's not going to be millions of, and it's not going to be reproduced. And, it's going to be kind of rare, but special. So that's really what that's all about. But it's funny that you bring up the Patreon thing and that we haven't posted in a while. We actually Alan and I talked today. We've got an announcement we're going to make here very shortly.
Cool.
I'll just spill the beans. We have a song that's been done that we're not going to release as a single. since we're getting ready to finish the album and put the whole album out. And we're actually going to give it just to the Patreon members.
Oh, nice.
And we may even do that with the next 3 or 4 songs and not put them out for everybody at all, but
Okay.
just give them to the Patreon members, because honestly, like the Patreon people have been so supportive. And then like in this, like the last couple months, super patient as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, so instead of just like, oh, hey, everybody, what's up? Like, we want to do something cool. You know, we definitely want to do something that shows our gratitude.
All right.
Oh my. Wow.
I'm glad you got it figured out. I thought for a second, maybe Zoom just.
No, I just bought a new charger for my laptop, which apparently does not work. And we found that out. I don't know if you like your laptop always tells you your battery's going to die with like 1 minute left.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's inevitable.
Cell phone will tell you 20%, but laptop's 1 minute.
Not the laptop. Yeah. Those things aren't cheap either, man.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for sticking
Oh
with
my
us.
God.
We appreciate it.
Oh, dude, no worries at all. Totally cool.
I don't remember where we were talking about Icarus Bell.
Let's talk, but wow, for you to stick around, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally cool. Technical issues, they happen all the time. More and more, you know, now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
Sure.
it should expand. Well, you're yes, I don't know where we're talking
We're
about.
talking about Icarus Bell and finishing up the album here. You got
Yes,
some
please.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, we touched on Patreon, and you know, it's been a quiet beginning to the year. There's just been a lot of other stuff going on, and then of course we've been working on the Blocktober record, and of course, when we're doing bass and drums, I give 100% of my attention, and got to do that. And then once that's I get a break from that, then I can sort of put my head back into finishing these songs and everything. But the plan is, full record. I would say before the end of the year.
nice.
It's taken quite a while to get to where we're at, but we also we're not rushing anything because we don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
There's no reason to. So
yeah, that's the nice thing about the side projects like that. Obviously, you've got a full-time job, so this one you can take your time on.
Yeah, do it right.
Yeah.
Make sure it's something that you're proud of, and you can listen back to the songs and feel good about it instead of, oof,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've definitely had plenty of those over the years. Listening back to old tapes or whatever. What we're thinking.
I'm pretty sure we can use it as a tax write-off. So I think Cocktails with Dimples in the Beard will be an executive producer
Absolutely.
on the new album.
Nice. That's awesome.
I think it counts as marketing somehow,
Either
right?
way.
It does for sure. And I think the tax write-off thing is brilliant, actually.
It's
Great.
perfect. So
I love the sign. I love the sign, by the way.
Thank you.
That's
We
fantastic.
had a friend of mine who put together the logo for us, and it turned out nicely. Yeah. So
I love it. It's the vintage appeal. It's very cool looking.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. We're both
That's what we wanted to.
we're both old enough to love the mid-century modern era. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where it all came from. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. That's awesome.
So how
Give,
many other bands are you currently in? Because I think I stopped counting at like 5.
Oh man. I think I'm like unofficially in a couple bands that I don't even know about. Let me see. So Joy Thieves is this like industrial, my friend Matthew Clark, it's really him and our buddy Dan, they are sort of like at the center of this project that has like 30 different members, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a whole bunch of like badass musicians on it. Like Chris Connolly from Ministry does stuff on it, and
Wow.
Andy Gerald, who played with Marilyn Manson for a while, does some stuff on it. And a lot of like Stabbing Westward, bands like that, a lot of different, musicians from bands like that. So I love getting the call to do that, because every once in a while, Matt, who's like one of my favorite people in the world, will just be like, dude, I got the perfect song for you. I got and I'm always super like eager and excited to do it because the music's really different. It's really cool, and it's something I don't get to do a lot. But that's a fun project, just with the like revolving door of like cast members. It's this really cool thing. So that's something I've been doing over a couple years now. And then I also, of course, I play in Harvard of the South as well, which is Jeremy, Justin, and Steve Schultz from Long Wave and myself. We've been doing that for a while now as well. But that's like Jeremy really kind of takes the reins with that project. That's really like his brainchild. And he and Steve, like the two of them did that, like started that whole thing together and then reached out to me and then reached out to Justin. And I love doing it. I love the songs.
Yeah, I do too.
It's funny because 3/4 of it is members of Blue October, but it really doesn't sound anything like Blue October,
Right.
And it's so much fun to play. Like, I love the bass parts. I love like getting to write those parts. It was really fun. I love the way we made that record. But I always tell them, I'm like, man, Steve, Jeremy, like whenever you guys want to do something, I'm like, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm in. Like, if we want to play some shows or whatever, like I'm there,
Wow.
So,
How many of these bands do you play live with other than records?
so I've played live with Harvard of the South, and I've played live with Alpha Rev as well, which is my friend Casey McPherson's band. Just really filling in with them. But he's one of my favorite musicians as well. And then of course Blue October, but Icarus Bell has yet to play a live show. We will. We have not played a live show yet. And then I have been invited to do some live stuff with Joy Thieves. If I can make it work, I'm going to. But they've done a couple of festival shows I wasn't able to do just because of the conflicting schedule.
Cool. And who's somebody you have in the studio right now that you're recording that you're geeked on?
Man, I actually am developing some artists right now that I'm super excited about.
Local artists?
Yeah. I've got an artist in Nashville, a country singer named Whitney Miller that I'm pumped about. It's a brand new thing. We're like just getting ready to release music and get her out there.
Does she play on Broadway? Is she out on Broadway?
Oh yeah, she's doing the Songwriter Circle thing right now.
Okay.
So she actually just moved to Nashville, so she's really getting acclimated to the scene there. But she's so awesome, and she's such a great person. She's so easy to get along with. She's already, like, there have been a couple times I'm like, oh yeah, you should meet so and so. She's like, oh yeah, I just met him. I'm like,
Too late.
So, yeah, I just met him. We actually just hung out. We're already right together. So
Nice.
she's very social, and she's really, really good. And then there's an artist, Grace Sorensen, who's this R&B pop singer that is just, this girl is so phenomenal. I mean, I really like, I just think that she could just take over the world. I really do. She's got a bright future. And I've kind of meticulously been like working with her for a couple of years, getting really ready to take over the world. And then a couple recent additions are, one is a hyperpop duo called Hypercolor. It's crazy, man. They're about 17, I think 16, 17 years old. Guy and a girl.
Oh.
So good, so phenomenal, such a cool, different thing than I've ever done before. It's a very specific sound. But this Cam and Rafi are their names, and she has a great voice, great writer, and he is just this whiz kid producer. I mean, like 17 years old, and he's just blown my mind watching him work. Like, he's just it's amazing, honestly. And then last, there's a band called Nolo that's from here, and I am really, really, really excited about them. Not that I'm not excited about all of them, but Nolo is a rock band, and very much like a lot of the bands I grew up on, Sunny Day Real Estate, like bands like that, like Taking Back Sunday. They have a lot of things in common with bands like that. So it's really kind of in my wheelhouse creatively what they're doing. But they actually all met in recovery.
Oh, wow.
That is like, when we first started working together, we're now on our like 5th song together, getting ready to make the whole album. But when we did our first song together and they told me their story, I was like, guys, this is kind of crazy. You should really go do a little bit more research on my band. Because, like we have a lot in common, so I'm really excited about this band. I think that they're special for sure.
Cool.
Definitely. I just wrote them down to keep an eye on them.
Cool. Yeah.
And I mean, you do all your recording at Orb Recording Studios. Is CB still involved?
Oh yeah, man. I actually just saw him today.
Okay. Yeah.
So that project,
man.
So you got a studio. Talk about that. You started a studio. What?
And
why did you do that?
That's probably the best question of all right there. Why on earth would you open a recording studio in this day and age? It's one of those things where I was making a lot of records, and CB had attempted to open a studio once before.
Okay.
So he'd already put quite a bit into work and research and gear and everything. And I believe like something just fell apart or whatever, partner or whatever. And then so when I started talking about like, man, I wish I had my own spot. I don't like leaving Austin. It's not really a studio in Austin that I love necessarily, like that has everything exactly how I want.
Yeah.
At the time, at least. There are some great options, of course, but but I really, just having somewhere to be creative and to not only produce, but to develop artists and to work with artists who don't necessarily have a lot of resources, but have a lot of talent. So he and I put this whole idea together. And when we built the studio and we're getting ready to open it, almost everyone I know was like, that's just nuts. Like, huge recording studios are not the way things are going. People are recording at home now.
Yeah.
Make an album in your bedroom, blah, 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 blah. But man, and that's true to a degree, but I didn't totally buy into that. I was like, I think that there's always going to be a need for a space. I think there's always going to be a need for a special environment where people want to go and record and be creative. And we opened in 2014. So in 7 years, our roster is insane.
Yeah.
Already, like we have such a cool group of musicians and artists that we've worked with already that is like, can compete and hang with anybody on the planet, so it's been really successful. It's been fantastic, man. Like it was really nice to prove everybody wrong, and then to kind of give everybody the finger and be like,
how cool is that?
Well, and if you're a band who like a 4-piece, 5-piece band who all wants to play their own instruments, like you can't really record that in your bedroom. I mean, if to be a true, authentic, full, old school rock band, you kind of need a recording studio.
And not only that, man, you really have to have some separation from your life, your personal life and your music life. You got to be able to kind of hunker down. It's like, to me, it's like I treat making a record like hockey playoffs. It's like, it's time to grow a beard. It's time to just not shower for a while. Like I don't want to, like, I just want to be with my boys and I want to make an album. And I think that mentality, was kind of a lost art for a while, but it's coming back, and I think that people are, I mean, it's always going to be necessary, but I think that people have really caught on to like what we do here, and it's special, so
yeah,
it's been busy, man. It's been awesome.
That's cool.
Exactly what I was thinking in my head is like, okay, I went away for a while. You can do your stuff in the bedroom, but there's something about the getting together and going somewhere.
It's totally different, man.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, and I know nothing about recording studios at all, but I did go to your website and look at the layout of the studio and your different studios.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks pretty sweet. I mean, it really looks neat. Like I would love to just visit. Huh?
I spent a lot of time here.
Yeah.
Are you at the studio now?
I am actually. Okay. I'm in the office right now.
Okay.
Pretty much live here during the week. So yeah, man, it's like it's also, it was built by musicians.
Sure.
A lot of studios are a lot of people don't realize this, but engineers and producers are not necessarily always musicians and not necessarily always songwriters or people who have toured, who people understand that side of it. So a lot of studios are cool and they're fancy and they got great gear, but they're built for audiophiles. They're built for engineers. They're not built for bass players who finish their parts in 2 days and hang out for 2 months. They're not comfortable and they're not very fun to be in, so like that was my biggest gripe, honestly. I was like, I'm just not comfortable in a lot of places that I've been to. Okay, and so Steve and I, we were like, let's have a place that's it's got all the options, but it's also like a place that you want to hang out and have a beer, and like you want to hang out and play pool or play video games, or
it's a clubhouse where you make music.
That's exactly what it is. A giant tree fort with gear.
That's perfect. I mean, who wouldn't want to hang out there? It's kind of like hanging out at a tattoo shop. Like, who doesn't want to hang out there? It's
exactly, man. It's vibe. It's all about vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
The biggest compliment that we've gotten too is just from other artists and producers that are like, man, I just love the environment. Like, I can't wait to come back.
Yeah. Have you found now in the past couple of years, like the music scene really ramped? Because it seems like Austin is such a growing city right now. Is the music scene really ramping up?
Honestly, yeah, It has, but there's kind of two sides to that. You know, one thing is that like there are a lot of great artists here, and it's. I mean, there's always been an awesome music scene here, right?
Okay.
There was a music scene here in the '90s and the early 2000s that when I moved down here, I was like, whoa, this is nothing like Northern Michigan. You know, this is happening. This is completely different. But at the time it was a lot of blues and you know some alt rock and whatnot, but a lot of blues very much centered around, you know, old school blues was kind of where it was at. And now there is everything. There's great R&B, there's great, you know, metal, there's great rap, there's great there's so many different great artists here, and a lot of artists that are doing really well internationally and nationally. So there's quite a scene here for sure. The drag about the whole thing is Austin has grown so much in the last 5 years that they're kind of pricing out musicians now. And that scares me a little bit because it's getting so expensive here to live in Austin or to be close to Austin that I worry about where that's going to leave like working class musicians in a few years that they just can't make it work. You know, they can't afford to live here anymore because it's growing so much. But we, luckily, as a studio, we're not right downtown. We're not right in the city. We're actually a little bit out of town towards Dripping Springs, which to me wound up being the perfect place to open because we are a little bit off the beaten path and it is a little quieter out here, you know? So I think that was a good thing for sure. We'll see in 5 years.
Hopefully they learn and they don't, price everybody out because we need places where working musicians can be and grow and
politics, man.
But no.
So I got to ask you, if you were creating the Blue October set list, what are you opening with and what are you closing with?
I love opening with Daylight. I love the energy of that song live. And there's two songs that I love to end with, and we've been doing it a lot, but I love ending with Moving On, which is one of our newer songs. Yeah. And I love ending with I Hope You're Happy. And part of the love ending with I Hope You're Happy is because it's like that song where everybody gets, like, if it's a seated show, which I normally don't like seated shows.
No.
But if it is a seated, I mean, it just depends, right? But if it is, it's the one song that everyone is guaranteed to not be seated.
Right.
Like everyone is standing up. Every single person in that building is going to be standing up by the end of it. So it's the perfect song to end with. But there's so many, man, the new stuff. I can't wait for you to hear the new stuff. There are definitely some good opener options on this album.
Yeah.
That's exciting to hear.
I just like songs that open with it. I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but I love the songs that open with the driving bass parts. It's just such a,
That's true.
Hey man, just keep kissing ass, please. Keep going. No, I love that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a chance to test the PA, see how much low end it can handle.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So I don't I love the minute you said you're a movie buff. Sparked me because I'm a movie buff.
Nice.
So have you worked on any soundtracks? Do you have any, did you will to work on soundtracks? Did you want to?
Scoring is such a unique thing. And it sounded so, I'm going to give you the honest answer here. And it's not the sexy answer, but it's the honest answer. It always sounded like the perfect thing to me because I was like, I love movies. I love, it sounds ridiculous, but I was watching the documentary about Star Wars, about, the making of the original trilogy. Yeah. And they talked about, when they screened the movie for close friends like Brian De Palma and Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas was talking about, well, we screened it for everybody before John Williams added the soundtrack, and it was terrible.
I've heard that. Right.
And then John Williams did what he did, and it's like, oh my God, it just brought this whole thing to life. Right. And then of course there was some editing as well, but so to me, I'm like, man, you take like my two favorite things, right, which is like great film and great story and music, and put that together, and that sounds so exciting to me. And then I actually watched the process and I watched how it's done, and it is so daunting and so like meticulous. I mean, it is, okay, I'm stopping on this frame and I am pulling it apart for just forever, and then, okay, now I'm constructing this mood. Don't get me wrong, it's exciting, but I just can't move at that speed, man. I could never do that. I could never just, okay, let's just stop and pick apart this one. It's like taking a bass and going, okay, here's a whole note. Let's spend all day discussing this whole note.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible to me, right?
Right.
So I'm just like, no, that's cool. I'll just be a connoisseur.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Do you find hey, I hate that movie sucked, but the sound or the sound of the movie made you love it?
Oh
Or
yeah,
vice versa?
for sure. I mean, a lot of, there's some of the Marvel movies, honestly, like there are a few that I'm like, kind of a little let down by, but the sound is always amazing. It's always incredible. And then there are actually, like a show that comes to mind, and I really like the show itself, but the soundtrack and the way they incorporate the soundtrack is so cool, is a show called Euphoria that's on HBO. And oh man, like whoever is in charge of handling the music supervisor for that show is got to win some kind of award for what they're doing, because it's incredible the way that they weave it into the story. And a lot of these songs are popular songs you've heard a million times, but they're different versions of those songs, and they're like just constructed in such a unique way. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
Okay, that's a show on my list that I haven't started yet. And
you hear a lot of people talking about it.
It's heavy. It is. It's hard to watch sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It is.
Okay.
But it's very well done, and the soundtrack it's phenomenal.
Well, and one of my favorite shows of all time, I think, kind of takes some credit for. I love Scrubs, the sitcom Scrubs.
Oh yeah,
and they were one of the first ones to really where the soundtrack played a part.
Very, very cool. I love the way Scrubs does it. I actually produced an artist named Joshua Radin. He's been featured on that show a bunch. Yeah, and he and Zach Braff are like best friends.
Yeah, awesome. So, that's cool. Yeah, he's a phenomenal artist too. I love his stuff.
He's great, man. I'd love to work with him again for sure. It was great.
Yeah. Cool.
Can you have your wish list of who you'd like to work with or play with? Or
oh yeah, I have quite a wish list, honestly. I think it would be, so going back to scoring and soundtracks, I think it'd actually be really cool to see how Trent Reznor does what he does. I mean, he does that a lot now, and I'm a huge fan. I love his work.
He's got a big niche in the movie scene with soundtracks and Danny Elfman, and he's been doing it for years.
Killing it. He's killing it. He's doing great.
Yeah. And amazing soundtracks, it's unreal. But
I'd love to see his process for sure. Yeah. That would be cool.
It's got to be different than you think the normal.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen is I saw one movie. I actually had a friend who scored a movie, and I got to see how that was done, and that was cool. But I see a lot of like commercial stuff, and I'm like, that's cool, but there are only so many big commercials.
Right.
It just is.
Nice.
So my last question on movies. You mentioned going to school for screenwriting.
Yeah.
Do you have any in the back of your mind, in the back of the vault that just started?
I have ideas. Yeah, I actually had my friend Ben Schaub and I actually like put together this. I should actually sit down and write it out. I really should. You're kind of inspiring me to do that now. But we had this whole comedy planned out, and it was called The Adventures of Bud Joneser, and it was about this guy who just can't win. He just I have this whole opening scene of him in the back of the bus and like getting punched, and the blood splattering out of his mouth would actually spell the title of the movie.
Nice.
Yeah. But I had a ton of ideas, man. And I what I really actually wanted to do is I wanted to write sitcoms. I wanted to write like comedy. I wanted to do sitcoms. This is in the 80s. This is like early Seinfeld, this is a while ago.
Sure.
When sitcoms were in their heyday.
Oh yeah. For sure.
So what about writing a movie for Blue October with the songs telling the story?
Well, we've actually been really lucky as far as like placements go. We've had a lot of songs in a few songs in movies, and like sometimes it's kind of a surprise. Like I didn't even know we were in the show on Netflix called Daylight. Is it Daylight? Daybreak. Sorry. Not Daylight.
They named it after the song.
Yeah. And my sister texts me and she's like, "Oh my God, I just heard your song." I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. So we've been really lucky in that sense. Like we've had some pretty cool scenes and some pretty cool opportunities with songs and different movies and whatnot. But man, I do feel like we have enough material and like in kind of every emotion as well, you know.
Right.
So like you probably could do, you know, that what was that movie where the Beatles, where they had all the Beatles songs? Like you could you could do something like that with us. I think at this point, I think we've got enough under our belt now that you could do.
Without a doubt, you could. Yeah, you could construct a story from all your songs for
Good old rock opera style.
And I love animation too. I think something animated would be really cool. Two Blue October songs.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like all different styles of animation. You know.
So what's your favorite movie?
Oh, man.
I know it's not a fair question, but
I actually grew up loving A Clockwork Orange. I love Stanley Kubrick. Over the years, and I like all Kubrick's movies, but over the years, I think I've kind of drifted away from that a little bit as I've gotten older. You know, like I was really kind of drawn to that when I was younger. But man, I love, like, speaking of animated, I love like Spirited Away is a great movie. Howl's Moving Castle is a great movie. I really like Daniel Day-Lewis a lot. There Will Be Blood was a fantastic film.
I will watch that movie just to watch him.
Yeah.
It's so convincing and so like it's just phenomenal. It really is, you know. But I'm also like, I grew up, you know, I'm 45, I'll be 46 in June, and yeah, it's Star Wars, you know, like I mean, I grew up on this stuff, right? It was like Kiss and Star Wars when I was a kid, you know. It was like the huge things, right? You know, so I remember going to like Rexall's drugstore and getting, you know, like the cards, right? The playing cards, the Star Wars cards. It had gum inside, and then there were Kiss cards, the record gum, right? It looked like a little record. You know, that's like what I grew up on. So I'm super nostalgic for movies like that, you know, for the old school Star Wars stuff and the nerdy stuff. I'm into it. Yeah.
That's me.
That is you to a T for sure.
That is me
for sure.
I'm also a sucker for like 80s comedies. Better Off Dead, Raising Arizona. I love the Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I go on and on, man.
I was just I fell asleep, but I was just watching Raising Arizona the other night.
It's such a quotable movie.
It's so good.
So many good moments in that. So many great actors too, you know.
And that was only because
you're gramping up.
I got back into Nicolas Cage. I was a huge out of him, nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Then the movie Pig came out. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it was phenomenal. I still have not seen it though. Yeah.
Yep. And then just last week, me and my daughter went and saw the Unbearable of Massive Talent.
Yeah, something like that.
I heard that was phenomenal.
I just went out. That's why I popped in Raising Arizona again. And
nice. Yeah.
Back into Nicolas Cage.
I love that whole concept too, about, you know, him playing himself and all that. And I heard that it was so good from somebody who like hates almost everything. And she was like, I would go see it again if you want to go see it. I was like, okay, I'm in. So
do it. I recommend it.
I will.
I recommend it.
Well, before we let you go, I got to ask, what are your thoughts on the Lions for the year? You know, because obviously I'm from Wisconsin, so big Packer fan. So,
dude, I drink blue Kool-Aid every year. So I am eternally optimistic. I have a hole in my heart because of Stafford. I'm just such a huge fan. Like when we drafted him, I cried. I wanted him so bad. I watched when he played for Georgia. I was like, I want that guy. He's so good. And I, like, all my kids have grown up wearing Stafford jerseys on Sundays, and I've, you know, gone to games, and it's not the same without him. Although I do like Goff, and he seems like a really cool dude. But I can tell you, in all honesty, I know when I'm like, oh, I think they're going to be great. And I know in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, it's going to be another shit year. So, but I can say I don't think it's going to be immediate. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or this year. But I do think that one thing I've noticed throughout my whole lifetime is that we've always been somewhere in the middle, right? We've never done a real, true rebuild. And we're finally doing that. Like, we had to trade Stafford to make that happen. We had to do what we had to do to actually strip it all down to the bare bones, to do it from scratch. And nobody is really had the balls to do that. They've all been scared to lose their jobs or whatever that is. I love our GM. I love Brett Holmes. I love our coach, Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Love what they're doing. I thought the draft was awesome. I love Aiden Hutchinson. That guy's going to be a total stud. I love that they traded up for Jamison Williams. Like I thought the draft was great. I actually thought the Packers had a really good draft as well.
Yeah.
Vikings doing, man. Like what on earth were they traded with us? You don't trade in your own division,
right?
What are you thinking? But
we'll take it.
Yeah, well, it's same, So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. I think in 2 years, I think next year, not this season, but the next season we'll be in the playoffs, and I think we'll be a serious contender the year after that. We're just missing a couple things, but man, if we could just, if you guys would please just let Aaron Rodgers go play for somebody else, please, man. I'm so tired of him just crushing us every year. Never fails.
Well, soon he'll be out of the league. So, he can't play forever. So he should be leaving when you're peaking, because I think you had a good draft. I saw it and I love your coach.
Are you sure? Because I think Brady's going to play forever. So.
I think Brady is like, I don't see him. I mean, yeah, what's going on? The guy just gets better and better. And Rodgers too. Rodgers is still phenomenal. They don't ever give him any help, and he's still phenomenal.
Right.
I just don't get it.
There'll be a challenge this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I did see an interview with you, and at the time the question was, and I don't remember how long ago it was, if you could have a drink with anybody, you picked Matt Stafford.
I would still pick Matt Stafford.
Still today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, man. I'm a massive fan. What can I say? Like and I think he seems like a really cool guy too.
Yeah.
I love the AT&T commercial. I thought it was hilarious. He just seems like such a chill. Like, one of the things that I love about him is I love that he's really good at what he does, and he does what he does, but he's not flashy. And he's he's not celebrating and making it all about him. Like, he's a team player. He's real quiet. He's laid back. He's not on social media.
Yeah.
It's just a breath of fresh air, man. I really respect the guy a lot,
It is.
I got to say, I was happy for him that he won. I mean, I am happy for him.
Yeah.
I could care less about the Rams, but I'm happy that he won
He deserved it.
He did. I agree.
No more. I don't want him to win anymore, but I'm good with the one.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but I mean, I fully admit that I like Stafford off the field a lot more than I like our guy off the field. So I will fully admit to that. We kind of got a douchebag off the field, and I will be fine saying that.
He just always has this smug look on his face,
Yeah.
Like in the whole discount double check belt thing when he was beating us that one year. I just wanted to kick his ass. But I'm good friends with Joey Milligan, who's a guitar player in Anberlin, and he said that Aaron Rodgers is the coolest dude ever. Like, he's a huge Anberlin fan, so I guess he would hang out with him on tour and go hang out with him. And it was like he's not a big Packers fan, so he has no reason. He's a Buccaneers fan. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And he was like, Aaron Rodgers is actually like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's just
wow. I can edit that out if you want me to.
I would love it if you do that. We don't want that getting out, but I was like kind of shocked to hear that. And I was like, don't do that. I want to hate him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I hate him on Sundays.
Like
sure.
I said, I root for the team, and I'm not really a big fan of his, so I totally get it.
Yeah, but this has been, I mean, growing up when in my age where I have, it went immediately from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. I didn't get a break.
Yeah,
I didn't get a 2-year Jared Goff in between. It was like, thanks.
Yep.
Just keep kicking our ass every year. That's great. Awesome.
You always got the Red Wings. Hockey's always good, right?
Always got the Red Wings, man.
Right. There you go.
And music. Escaping music.
There you go. Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, hey, man, I'll still be a Lions fan forever, though.
Oh, yeah, you have to be. You have to be.
I made it this far.
Right? Right.
Well, I love the loyalty. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely loyal.
Definitely loyal.
Well, thank you so much for dealing with all our technical difficulties and just for coming on.
For joining us, yes.
Oh, yeah. Anytime, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Definitely our pleasure.
Yeah. I'm gonna shoot you a message after this and get an ad. We'd like to send you a shirt, so I'll get an address and get a shirt up for you. So
heck yeah, just in time, man. We're going on tour. Wear it on stage.
Oh,
I would be. Yeah. Okay.
I have one question. Is it black?
It's dark gray.
Okay, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
do you do gray?
Yeah, I'll do gray.
Cool.
can't be doing like light. I can't be wearing like yellow or
It's
white.
it's
Well-
pink. It's pink.
Yeah, I love pink, but I can't
Not on
pull it off.
All
Hold
right.
on. Get him talking.
Why
Give
is
it
that?
Just for a sec.
Oh, I don't know what he's doing, but apparently are you a coffee
Getting his
drinker as
body
well?
through. Oh, I'm a huge coffee drinker.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
I drink way too much.
Oh, I
coffee.
guess it's light gray.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm looking at it going, this is kind of light.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. That's way cool.
We'll
And
throw
it's
in
got, it's got the badass logo on it.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
does.
I
So
like
my
it.
point was, if this is too late, I will get one made on black for you.
Yeah, let's just
Hey,
get
man,
one.
I'll rock the black.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Done.
I'll rock
Done.
the black, but I'd wear that too. Yeah.
We'll
send you
we'll
both.
make sure to throw one in a coffee mug and send it your way. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you guys. Really
So
appreciate it.
put
Thanks, man.
put in a good word for I don't know if Jeremy asked you, but I'm trying to get Jeremy on too. And I said, talk to Matt. We're talking to Matt. So,
There you go. Yeah, I'll actually see him soon. I will
Cool.
for sure. So
Well,
I'm happy with that.
awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. We
Can't
appreciate
thank you
it.
enough. This has been an amazing night.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
All
take
right.
it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. The tavern is closed for now, but we'd love to have you back for more fun next time. Seriously though, get your asses out of here.